Hello everyone, this is Kevin, your entrepreneur, and we're going to be talking about something a little different today. This isn't a news item, and this isn't an advice thing. This is a hypothetical situation, sort of. So anyway, I don't know if any of you have seen a little series called The Fast and the Furious, but there's a new one out. It's called The Fate and the Furious because, holy cow, this naming convention for this series cannot possibly get any more confusing. I made a full video on my other channel. I'll link to it below. But wow, they need to fix those titles. I mean, but anyway, I like movies 5 through 8. I don't necessarily like the first 4, and I'm sorry, but they're terrible. They're not very good now. But I like them enough where I even bought the set in this little collectible tire that's made of real rubber. And I'm sorry, but screw digital. This is what collecting movies is all about. But I'm not going to be here to discuss the movie as a whole. I'm here to talk about a sequence. So there are spoilers, obviously, if you haven't seen the movie. But if you have seen the movie, let's look at this very interesting scene, which I can't show you because the clip's not available and because I don't want to get copyright flagged. But there is a sequence where Dom, who has betrayed his family, is going to steal nuclear codes from Russians. And of course the Russians are very well protected and there's really almost no way for him to get there. So what's he going to do? Well, he's working with a cyber terrorist named Cypher, who was played by Charlize Theron, and she's got a genius plan. She's going to use a hacker to hack into all of these cars that have auto drive features. Thus, they're going to be turning on all the cars, and they're going to be driving the cars from a remote distance. Whether or not there are people in the car or not, it doesn't matter. And if there are people in the car, they can't manually overtake the cars. So in this wonderfully stupid action sequence, because guys, let's face it, the Fast and Furious movies, they are stupid. They're stupid in the right ways for the most part, and they're a lot of fun. But you're not watching these because they're intelligent, and you're certainly not watching them because they're smart. I'm not watching them because they're smart. I'm watching them because they've got cars doing cool things, for the most part. But this scene has all these driverless cars and cars with auto drive features being taken over by the hacker terrorists. They're being controlled remotely, and they are confusing the police, and they're confusing Dom's friends who are trying to prevent the theft from happening. And even the Russian cars get taken. And it's this probably 15-minute scene, and you just see all these cars driving. Some people are in the cars, they're screaming their heads up like, oh, what's happening? What's happening? And it's like, oh my gosh, they can't control the cars. This is a nightmare. And it's wonderful, stupid, and it's fun. And it's probably closer to reality than we want to admit. Now, I'm going to say this right now so that nobody misinterprets me. I am in no means calling the Fast and Furious franchise realistic. I'm not even calling this movie realistic. There is a scene where a submarine shoots a torpedo across Russian water ice, and it gets redirected by someone who's driving his car fast enough to catch up to the missile, tilt it down, and shoot it in the sky. That's the kind of logic that just does not exist in this world. But here's the funny thing. It's kind of amazing how movies and fiction tend to really be onto something sometimes. Like, remember how in Star Trek the communicators were, they would pick up these devices and they'd flip them open and they'd talk on them? The cell phones. What about 2001, A Space Odyssey? That movie was made before we went into space. Looks pretty close to how it ended up working out, doesn't it? And what about most of the stuff Arthur C. Clarke wrote about? He actually predicted that one day we would have computers in the palm of our hand, and we would have information to all the access to all the information we'd ever need. Wow. That sounds a lot like smartphones. Now, The Fate and the Furious is interesting because this is a very dumb movie. It's a fun movie, but it's a dumb one. And most of the scenes defy any sort of logic. But, as I made a video pointing out last week, hacking cars that have auto drive features is a very real thing. And it is very doable. And here's the scary thing. The way that the movie's making it look, they're making it look way more complicated than it actually is. Because according to engineers who have worked on the Uber driverless cars, they have stated you don't even need to hack into the car itself. All you need to do is hack into a satellite or a computer. And then you have access to all of these driverless cars. And it's something that they have shown very little interest in securing. And in fact, they even doubt if it can be secured to the point where it's really safe. And what do we see? We see a 2017 summer blockbuster, the 8th in its franchise, that might have accidentally stumbled upon what it would look like if terrorists decide to hack these cars and drive them without people's consent. And as you see in the movie, even the people who are in the car, they have no control over the cars. They can't do anything about it. Is that technology you want to trust? Is that technology that we want to put on the road and replace with absolutely everyone? It's very interesting, I think. I was watching that scene laughing, of course, and then kind of thinking at the same time, wow, this might not be too crazy. In fact, this scene almost feels like satire. Like, I don't know if any of you have seen The Simpsons. Of course you've seen The Simpsons. I don't know if any of you have seen this episode where Homer is accused of sexual harassment. If you want to know what the episode is about in great detail without having to watch the episode, I will link to a video from the mysterious Mr. Enter, whose channel I enjoy very much. When I'm not giving you advice on how to make money, I'm actually quite a nerd. But he analyzed the episode and very, very shrewdly had pointed out that the show was written, that episode in particular is written to be over-the-top satire. It was shown to be so over-the-top, it couldn't possibly happen in a million years. Where basically, Homer gets accused of sexual harassment, and with no proof whatsoever, the media gangs up on him, and he falls into despair, and his family turns on him, and everyone believes and so convinced he did it without a shred of proof, and only through a hidden video camera is it shown that he had not done anything wrong. It was written to be over the top. It doesn't feel so over the top now. And so I'm kind of wondering, The Fate and the Furious, this gloriously silly movie, almost gleefully silly. I laughed so hard during this movie, everyone else was kind of looking at me strange, and I definitely knew at that point people were taking all this way too seriously. But this scene, even though I was laughing for very different reasons. I wondered how true this was. It probably wasn't intentionally supposed to be true, but I wonder. Because after I made the video on the engineer who actually hacked some of these cars and showed that it could be done very easily, I started reading up on the issue a little bit deeper, and I might make another video because it's really a far more prevalent problem than Uber, Lyft, or anyone wants to admit. And The Fate and the Furious might actually be our first serious warning that it's coming. And that, we put our lives to these cars and we're going to have a bad day one day. And there'll be nothing we can do about it. Or maybe I'm just messing with you. Or am I being serious? I wonder. Tell me, what do you think? This is really hypothetical. Do you think if you've seen the movie, this could potentially come true? Do you think these cars can be hacked and can be controlled in a way as shown in the movie? Or is this just a little joke by me? Do you think I'm just yanking your leg? Just a little, because I'm bored. And I didn't have a video up today, and I figured I might as well get one up before the day's over. I would love to know. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one. I love this set.